have with me Shazia Ilmi, Bharatiya Janata Party spokesperson. I also have Sanjay Jha, political analyst, Rahul Srivastav, National Affairs editor. Before I cut across to both Sanjay Jha and Shazia Ilmi, Rahul, I'd like to bring you in. Mr. Iyer, they're fairly angry at being asked a few questions, but having said that, there seems to be still, Rahul, one part of the Congress which is still slightly delusional in the way they have performed at the hustings and the reason why which they have failed so miserably. And then there is this other part, like Mr. Antony, who read the tea leaves in 2014, said it then, and is now saying it practically, nearly 10 years down the line.
Preeti, the point is not necessarily that the tea leaves were read or not. I think the point here is who read the tea leaves. And when you read the tea leaves, did you analyze that the tea leaves were read rightly? I think the Congress is confused. I think the statement by Mr. AK Antony is following a pattern, which I see. And as a chronicler of contemporary history, I will say, first Rahul Gandhi goes to the Vajpayee Samadhi. And the Congress can't complain that media doesn't cover them. You have been giving them ample space for the last 4 days now. Now, first he goes to Vajpayee Samadhi, creates what is called a softer shade of Hindutva. Then he's equated to Ram by a Muslim leader, Mr. Salman Khurshid. Now a Christian is saying that we need to stop appeasement. It's virtual acceptance that there was some kind of favoring of the minorities or tilt towards the minority, although the minorities will totally disagree. They actually have not benefited anything in the last 70 years. Their school dropout rate, the tuberculosis instances, the poverty among them remains virtually the same. So where does this appeasement element come in from? Eventually, if you go back in history, it's a simple fact that every time the Congress has gone back towards this soft Hindutva, the Congress has suffered or created ground for setbacks. Be it the Somnath reconstruction, where Jawaharlal Nehru was right, he didn't want the government to get involved, but the President of India went for it and other leaders went for it. The placing of statues in the Babri Mosque in 1949, be it the formation of the Bharat Sadhu Samaj, the Congress and the Sadhus got together and the Sadhus went with the BJP eventually. Rajiv Gandhi, after the Shah Bano case, what does he do? Opens the gates for the prayers at the Babri Mosque, allows Shilanyas in 1989, launches his campaign and loses miserably. UP was eventually lost to Mulayam Singh Yadav, not the BJP, not because of minorities. It was because the Congress ignored the backwards. BSP took away the Dalits, the BJP took away the upper caste. So it was the parties who differently ate away into Congress vote bank because the Congress lost its mojo, how exactly it used to do politics in the Nehruvian era. The crisis is, yet again, like 2017, Rahul Gandhi became Janay Udari, Shiv Bhakt. It didn't pay any political dividends. Yet again, the Congress is searching for the Maggie 2-minute Rasna flavor solutions, which actually will be detrimental to the Congress's interest because that will put the minorities already pushed in a corner, in a quandary, that one of the central parties of the country is actually talking the tone that we need to talk about Hindus, not minority appeasement.
All right, okay. Shazia Ilmi, I'd like to come to you because the BJP is projecting this as a got you moment. Multiple leaders, you've held multiple press conferences which is calling out the hypocrisy of the Congress when it comes down to majority appeasement only for electoral reasons. But the fact is, Shazia Ilmi, many would also say, what's wrong of a senior party's assessment on what has gone wrong? It's his assessment. Everybody's entitled to an opinion.
Well, absolutely. And I cannot agree more with AK Antony and his statement, because he is putting in, in the AK Antony report, which was submitted in 2014, about what led to the debacle that Congress faced at that point of time and continues to do so. The statement that he made is a dead giveaway of the kind of politics that Congress party has practiced, that of identity politics and nothing more or nothing less. That it's also a dead giveaway of the complete discrimination and the use of minorities, so to speak, for their vote bank politics. And now the plan now to use the majority to counter that earlier use, because that clearly is not paying off, is also very clear to everybody. So the fact of the matter is, minority as in Muslim were used and have been used and hoodwinked into voting for Congress by virtue of their faith, and that's what they remain there for. That is the sole purpose of res or death of being. But having done precious little good for them, they now train their guns when it comes to electoral politics and all the fodder you need to now look at Hindus, that we have not cashed in enough, and clearly all this is not working out. We have milked the Muslims, not paying off anymore. Now let's target Hindus, and now let's get their vote. So this is the way they look at politics. So I think it's a dead giveaway. And honestly quite shameful. But there is honesty. I mean, it's almost like a confessional statement of the kind of politics that's happened. And I'm not saying it as just a chronicler of Indian modern history, but as a practitioner of modern, polity, as I do, as an Indian and also as an Indian Muslim. And I want to say that this is exactly what gets me about these so-called secular parties. And I find them horribly communal at all points of time. So this is the ultimately the communal party, Congress, which actually is giving its card away and actually exposing themselves for who they are. Something that people like us have been saying for the longest period.
All right, Shazia, I'm going to come to you because, so the charge of Muslim appeasement, whether exploitation is what you seem to suggest, has been laid at the doorstep of the Congress. A similar charge of majority appeasement can be laid at the doorstep of the Bharatiya Janata Party. We'll come back to that. But I want to bring in Sanjay Jha also into this conversation. Sanjay is somebody who was a congressman at one point of time, now a political analyst. Do you concur with the views of Mr. AK Antony?
Oh, well, Preeti, for the record, I remain a congressman ideologically, and my membership stands suspended, but I remain a congressman. So let me just put this conversation in context. The reason why we are having this political discourse is because of the polarized India that the BJP has created, particularly after 2014. India today has got a religious segregationist policy by the political party in power. And it is evident you don't need more manifestations other than what Pragya Singh Thakur said the other day. So to understand the context of this conversation is very critical. Now, let me tell you what is the Congress's problem. For a party that championed India's freedom struggle, which we all know was, frankly speaking, where all communities came together and fought for liberation against the British, the Congress really led that battle. The Congress ushered in the area of secular democracy. The Congress has won 10 of the 17 general elections, has governed India for more than 55 of the 75 odd years. And what do we have the Congress's biggest political predicament? It is being called as pro-Muslim and anti-Hindu, and the Congress is clueless. Now, let me tell you, for anyone who's a student of political history, they will say, what is wrong with this party? This is the party that has a claim to nationalism that the BJP can never have. This is a party that should ideally wear secularism as a badge of honor. Instead, it is being accused of being anti-Hindu. I mean, to my mind, this is an absurd, atrocious, and absolutely farcical conversation. But the Congress doesn't have an answer. And the answer, therefore, if you even heard my senior colleague Mani Shankar Iyer, and I have the greatest respect for him, the Congress does not bite the bullet, Preeti. In fact, you have been insinuating at that yourself as an anchor. Think about the reality that today there is no minority appeasement. If there was, the Muslims would be very much well off, a point that Rahul made earlier. And the point that you made, majority appeasement. Look at the electoral math. Even a child will tell you, and the Congress is not able to do it, that if you want to win an election in this country, you need to win the majority votes, 51 votes out of 100. How can a party that is only focused on 14% expect to win? The logic is very clear that the BJP is actually played a very deadly game of what I call as a malicious communal propaganda. It has painted its principal rival as a pro-minority party. Now, the problem for the Congress is, and as you again rightly mentioned, the answer does not lie in actually flirting with Hindutva light or soft Hindutva. You got to say that, listen, we are a secular country to the best of our knowledge. That's in the Indian constitution. And we are pro-Hindu, we are pro-Muslim, we are pro-Jews, we are pro-Sikhs, we are pro-Jains, we are pro-Parsis, we are pro-Christians. I mean, this is not a country where you can allow the BJP to run away with winning elections because they paint the principal party as being, very selective in its political targeting. And let me tell you the truth, Preeti. The Congress is not going to win an election, with due respect to Mani Shankar Ayyar and other people in the Congress, by fighting on inflation, unemployment, death of institutions, a compromised democracy, not an independent media, etc., etc. Unemployment, poverty, everything will pale into insignificance, because history has shown that when identity politics becomes visceral, it is so personal and psychological that people tend to overlook these facts. It has been proven in 2019. Raging unemployment, serious farmer crisis, but the BJP keeps winning it. Why? Because identity politics, when you bring religion into the game as a marker, you need to fight that narrative head on. The Congress is not biting the bullet. It needs to address that.
So I want to just
but that also runs its course. Even if it is religion, it runs its course.
Because there are important rebuttals to be made.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Shazia.
We heard Mani Shankar Ayyar ji, we heard Sanjay Jha ji. I would like to talk about religion being the marker. So let's just start off a little early in time about the Hindu Code Bill and how Jawaharlal Nehru played that. Let's go further in history and look at the death of institutions and talk about Indira Gandhi and what happened during her time. And of course, the identity politics also prevalent at that point of time. Let's come back to Rajiv Gandhi now. And actually, Rahul has already mentioned it, whether it's the Shah Bano case or opening of the locks of the padlocks of the Babri, of the Ramlala, the temple. And even later, succumbing to, All India Muslim Personal Law Board, to the complete vociferous opposition to the verdict on Ram Janambhoomi led by Kapil Sibal in court, and to various statements, whether it's Kamal Nath talking about we must get the minority votes to win elections, to Hamid Ansari Saab, the former vice president, saying that the human resources must be allocated mostly to the Muslims. So this is the kind of the religious marker that has been used, and the only marker
Shazia,
that has been in play.
If you're talking about religious markers, then the BJP has been very unapologetic
about other markers.
But if you're talking about religious, Shazia, if you're talking about religious markers, then the BJP has been outrightly unapologetic when it comes down to the majority appeasement.
And Sanjay Jha, as much as you give me together, because I'm the one speaking on it, right? So collectively the time...
I'm asking you only a question. Shazia, I'm asking you only a question.
Keeping all this...
I asked you.
Keeping all these factors in mind, it's important that we look at the kind of the marker, the parameter, the sole parameter of Congress party's politics was religion.
But the fact is, but
for the first time, we are talking about inflation as an issue.
Shazia, may I ask you a rebuttal?
Indian identity.
Shazia.
And blunting of this minority.
But when you're talking about that for a party that the fulcrum has been religion. Shazia, I'm asking you a question.
I refuse to be treated as just a Muslim. But and this is exactly what they've done. The biggest discrimination has happened
Shazia, may I ask you a question?
Hindus is by the Congress party.
Okay, Shazia, let me ask you a question now.
Socio-economic
Can you hear me though?
Sanjay Jha must answer. 10 out of 17 elections you won.
Madam, can I ask you a question?
Why are Muslims so badly off? That is on your shoulder. That place, that guilt at your
door. I'll answer that.
Miss
Ilmi, you answer Preeti's question.
Yeah, Miss Ilmi, we'll go across to Sanjay Jha, but now let me ask you a question if that monologue is over, but let me ask you that question. The question is, if you talk about the fulcrum of Congress being religion, you've been unapologetic about your own politics. There's nothing to be ashamed of, but yes, you've been unapologetic about your own politics, which rests on the fulcrum of Hindutva and the majority vote. Shazad, could you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well. So there is nothing to be apologetic for. Our manifesto says it all. I mean, we're very clear on we practice what we preach.
True.
But to talk about secularism and use Muslims as bait, what kind of secularism is that? I mean, you know, clearly using Muslims as fodder and also doing so badly by them in terms of just providing anything, you know, of comfort for them in terms of education, microcredit schemes, basic sanitation, good old scholarships which is needed, and looking the other way and just succumbing to Muslim clergy. Is that minority?
Okay, but I am glad.
That is so of the worst kind, which is actually done, which is done.
Okay,
so,
you know, you made that point, Shazia. I want to bring in Rahul Srivastava and Sanjay Jha back into this conversation very briefly. But Rahul Srivastava, the fact that Shazia, you know, the fact that Shazia Ilmi says that yes, we don't need to be apologetic about it. The BJP is very, very clear of where its politics actually stands vis-a-vis the Congress, which we spoke about right in the beginning, confused.
To just become richer and fatter.
Rahul Srivastava.
Preeti, could you repeat the question? I couldn't.
I'm just, Rahul, what I was saying was, with what, you know, what Shazia also said, that unapologetic, where the BJP stands on the style, the mode of politics, many of its leaders have openly said we don't need the minority vote. You know, we have no need for the minority vote. They've been very, very clear. The Congress, contrary, very, very confused.
Preeti, the problem is not whether the BJP has done what or the Congress has about the minority and majority. The issue is that every political party builds a political narrative, has a political thought, has a political philosophy, and has a political plan. Now it executes it and it makes to the voter very clear where it stands on each issue as it evolves or as it creates. In that, the Congress's problem is that Congress doesn't know where it stands. Then the basics, I think that Congress, as I've been saying, needs to get a new drawing board. It does not know where to begin. The problem is that if you go back to the 2014 report by Mr. AK Antony and 3 other people submitted to Sonia Gandhi, totally absolved Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi and Manmohan Singh of anything to do with the loss. Now, was it true? They were, Mr. Manishankar Iyer said there was a virtual paralysis or a picture created, perception created like that. Why did you do that? You did it because you wanted to shield your leaders. You don't have leaders today across the country. You have bright people who are outside on the fringes of the party. I will not take names. Then there are, where are you creating new leaders who will propagate the party? Even after 2019, Rahul Gandhi resigned because he wanted old out, new in. Where are the new leaders? New leaders are now in the BJP, most of them. The crisis is that the Congress doesn't know where to begin, and it keeps trying to find this template and wants to stick them.
Mr. Jha, you wanted to come in for
that won't work.
Mr. Jha, you wanted to come in for closing comments very quickly, sir. I'm running out of time on this debate.
Yeah, sure. Preeti, I think Rahul is absolutely right that the Congress needs an ideological clarity. I mean, you're actually up on a battle against a party that is unambiguous. It is absolutely barefaced, communal. And, you know, Shazia Ilmi can talk till the cows come home, but we all know that there's not a single Muslim member of parliament today. And Muslims constitute 14% of India.
Shazia is unapologetic about it. You know, the BJP stands for what it is.
Absolutely. Exactly my point. That the Congress party needs to today stand up and proudly say that we are secular and we are going to make India secular. You know, you can't fight and beat the BJP in an election trying to imitate their extremely pathetic politics. I think you will make the minority so insecure. And actually, I wonder how difficult it is to be a minority in our country where you have a Pragya Singh Thakur making statements on weaponizing people with knives, and where there are a call for genocide of Muslims, and the Prime Minister does not say a word. Even Bilkis Banu's rape.
I'm going to give, because
it's a weird situation.
All right, I will give Shazia. You want to come in because
should do something about it.
Okay, Shazia, you want to come in for a quick rebuttal?
Preeti, this is I'm so happy about this discussion because I've been able to express myself. So minorities being insecure. I mean, is that the only marker or the parameter that Congress will keep using? I mean, what have they done about minorities becoming secure in terms of providing the very basic form of governance, except for using the religion? So using your votaries or constituents of a certain faith only by virtue of the religion and keeping them ignorant constantly and of what is going on and not providing anything for them, which is suggested and very visible in the Rajinder Sachar committee report, which shows how badly Muslims were treated. So my question to the Congress is, I don't know who you want to be with. You want to go hop over to the Hindus now. You were using Muslims so far. I mean, you'll have to rediscover more other markers, development,
with that,
pan-India identity, instead of just playing this
with that, I need to bow to this debate, but I would reckon, for the Congress, the battle is going to be as ideological as it is electoral.